Hi, so welcome to another edition of the Big Fat White Guy. And actually, I'm in my working clothes. This is actually very early for me, but I sort of like did already the video a few nights ago. And for today, we're going to talk about Ma Tsang. Ma Tsang is what we call in Mandarin as Tsong-Tse, or sticky rice. Anyway, this delicacy is something that is very popular in the Philippines, and it's a savory snack composed of glutinous rice wrapped in either lotus leaves or bamboo leaves, and in it is found some other goodies such as meat, probably a little bit of lotus blossoms, some mushrooms, Chinese sausages, and the like. Now, this delicacy, they say, originated probably sometime around 200, 300 BC, and the legend was that there is this somewhat of a soothsayer who warned the former emperor during the Warring States period, saying that he would be overtaken by this successful subsequent emperor dynasty, the Qin dynasty, if he doesn't, fight it out. The emperor of that region chose not to fight, and so what happened was he got conquered by the Qin dynasty, and so the soothsayer, in his sorrow, committed suicide. Anyway, behind that story is that the folk people decided to make Tsong-Tse in order to feed to the fishes, so that it would prevent the fishes from eating his body. It's sort of like a tradition. Now, they say that every fifth day of the fifth lunar month of every year is when they celebrate this, and therefore it is a tradition to eat Tsong-Tse. Now, in the Philippines, we call this as Ma Tsang, and it is, as I've said, savory, although in the northern part of China it's not. It's more or less like sweet things filled with probably sweetened mung beans or red beans, azuki beans, and all that. Now, for this version, I chose to make it into the savory way, which is how we eat it in the Philippines, and also how they usually make these things in the southern part of China, also in Taiwan. So, without further ado, after all that introduction, let's see how you can make one, and hopefully you would enjoy it. In making Ma Tsang, you have to have the following ingredients. It comes in three phases, or three parts. The first part are the condiments and spices. So what we have here is garlic, one whole head, peeled and chopped, a tablespoon of freshly ground black pepper. This is more or less like 1/4 of a package of hebi. Hebi is what is known as dried shrimp pellets. That's the reason why they call it hebi or Shiya Mi. Mi is the Chinese word for rice, and since it's small shrimp that has been dried, it resembles the pellets of rice. That's why they call it hebi or Shiya Mi. You also have to have some onions. This is just half a head of a large head of large onion. You can also use a medium-sized onion and slice it similarly. The following are the musts, of course, for making your Tsong-Tse or your Ma Tsang. You have to have pork. Here is more or less like 2 kilos of pork, which I cut rather largely because this will become smaller in the stewing process, and you need more or less like, somewhat like a considerable size of meat to be a part of your Tsong-Tse. You also, of course, have to have rice. Now, this rice right here is more or less 1 kilo of sweet rice, which I have already soaked in water for about 3 hours or so. This will make the rice a little bit puffier and easier to cook, so that when it steams, it's not difficult to steam, to cook. Next, of course, you have to have your wrappers. Now, I have here 2 kinds of wrappers because they impart different kinds of flavor. The traditional one is using the dried bamboo leaves. Or you can also use, in certain Chinese restaurants, they use this, just dried lotus leaves. In both cases, you need to soak them so that you can use them. And it's easier to handle, and they don't crack as you put the rice and the fillings in. The following are essentially the sauces that make it, sweet and flavorings. Of course, you have to have your soy sauce. You can use this one, light soy sauce. Some people would like to have their Tsong-Tse a little bit darker, so you can use the mushroom soy sauce if you like. You have to have a little bit of sugar, light brown sugar, just to sweeten it up, provides the contrast. Now, I have the following liquids as well. This is leftover from my previous hongma, and essentially what you're going to do is a hongma kind, or shaozi ro is what you're going to do, the sauce for it. You can also incorporate this rather than using a fresh soy sauce. This will also provide you with the same kind of flavor, and actually it has imparts a better flavor too. Because one of my fillings is peanuts, and it says that you need to use the ones with shell. This one I've already parboiled in water for about 30 minutes or so. So you boil some water, you put the peanuts in, you let it to boil something like 5 minutes, turn the heat off, and then just leave it alone for about 30 minutes or more. You will get the liquid, and this liquid right here you can also use for the stewing. Now, it has a lot of flavor because the thing is, it's actually from the peanuts itself. Now, the following are fillings, and you can vary depending on whatever you want in your Tsong-Tse. Now, this one is, of course, dried mushrooms, shitake mushrooms, which I'm going to slice later on. I also have some dried lotus leaves, lotus blossoms, I mean, and this will provide some vegetables inside my Tsong-Tse. The other end I have here are Cantonese sausages, which a whole piece of Cantonese sausage, or Lap-Chong as they call it in Cantonese. I sliced it into 4 pieces. This is salted duck egg. Now, some people prefer just to put the yolk. I prefer to put the whole thing, simply because I don't want to get the whites into waste. And then I also have, lastly, some pickled mustard. You can buy this in packages in plastic, and it probably is just like $1.25 each. I have here 2, and I sliced it diagonally. So it's a rather complicated process, as I've said. It's more or less like 3 parts, and I'll explain that in the cooking next. So see you in the kitchen. We first saute your garlic and your onions until they're brown a bit. Once your garlic and onions are brown, more or less like 5 minutes, then you add your sugar to caramelize. Now that your sugar is well caramelized, you add your meat to saute it well. Now, after sauteing for about 8 to 10 minutes, add 5 spice powder, probably like a tablespoon or so, and then some rice wine. Add your soy sauce, but instead of using soy sauce, I think I have a lot of leftover hongma sauce here, so I'm going to add this instead. And also my peanut wash. There. Give this a little bit of a stir, and let it stew for about 30 minutes or so. It doesn't need to be tender, but what it needs to be is just cooked, so that because part of the so that it's going to tenderize actually in the steaming process later on with the rice. But what you need to do here is just to have at least a little bit of a stew and the sauce which you will be using with the rice later on. So I leave this to cover for about 30 minutes and then I'll come back to this later. So this has been stewing now for about 45 minutes to about an hour or so, and I could feel it here. It's more or less like semi-tender, so it's now time to remove the meat. So remove them. To this remaining stewing sauce, I'm going to add the heavy and the pepper. Give it a good stir or so. And then turn the heat a little bit on the high side so that it starts to boil. Now once that starts to boil, I'm going to add the glutinous rice. Now mind you, this rice has been soaked for about 3 to 5 hours now. I left this since lunchtime, it's already like 5 o'clock. And along with this are the liquids as well, that you know, the water that it's soaking in. So that's going to add more liquids to the stewing sauce, and that's going to give it probably just about the right amount of liquids for it to be absorbed. Now, once that is done, I'm going to stir it a little bit this way, and I'm going to turn the heat to like medium-high until it starts to boil. Once it starts to boil, I'm going to simmer it a little bit until the liquids begin to be absorbed and get incorporated with the rice. Now, it's okay for the rice to be semi-cooked because it's going to cook further in the steaming process later on. But on the other hand, if you have a generally cooked rice, that's fine as well, because you can never go wrong with cooked rice. But you would definitely not like it if the rice is half cooked later on as you eat it. But I'm sure with the steaming process later on, that would generally cook the rice and it will not give you much problems. But anyway, we have lots of liquid here, and from the looks of it, as I put my spatula that way, from the tip of the rice top, you know, the rice top until the liquid probably is right about here. That's just the right amount of liquids. After leaving it to stew and steam for about approximately 20-something minutes, this is what we have. Now remember to once in a while stir it from underneath to prevent the rice from burning. Anyway, now that the rice and the stew liquids have already incorporated into this gelatinous mixture, it is actually more or less like half-cooked rice. You can actually eat it, but on the other hand, it's quite al dente to the bite. It will cook further later on as you steam it. Now you leave this to cool for a while so that at least it will be easier to handle. Meanwhile, you gather all the meat, and now that it's cool to the touch, you can also cut the meat into appropriate pieces so that you can assemble your Ma Tsang later on, which I'll show you how. So these are lotus leaves right here. This is how a whole lotus leaf would look like. There. So that's the center of it, and this is the whole leaf. Now this is the inside, this is the outside. The problem with lotus leaves is that they tend to crack, so they have a lot of holes like so. So what you need to do is to double the wrapping, and you can easily achieve that by first removing the center part of your lotus leaf. Now once you have your lotus leaf like so, now you can divide this into 4. So that's 1 cup. These leaves have been soaked in water for about an hour or so. Now, usually you line them so like the insides are facing each other, like that. So it's easier to use this. It's a ice cream scoop. And then you get a piece of meat and then some sausages. Okay. And you add more rice. Put them together and fashion it like so. There. So this is how it's going to look like. You're going to steam this. Now, using your bamboo leaf, it's a bit more complicated, and probably you'll end up with a smaller Ma Tsang. Now, essentially, you put the pointed part of one leaf, and it points towards the end part of it. Now, with that, you fashion a cup. Like so. Now, here, I would probably use just one scoop of rice. But then, same thing. And then use the other one to cover like so. Hold this way. So now we are going to steam the Ma Tsang. What we have here is a double steamer. So I have here is the first layer. I have several pieces here, some of the lotus wrapped ones and some of the bamboo ones. And on top, I have 4. And what I will do is to cover it with towel like so. It will help the steam to be contained. And so I'll lift the ends of the towel like so and leave it to steam for about an hour. Now I still have another batch. So I'm done steaming the first batch, and this is the second batch, as you can see here. So actually I ran out of some rice. I have to cook some rice using my leftover Ma Tsang sauce. No, my leftover Hokkien sauce. The other way you can do it is to just caramelize some sugar, put some soy sauce, and then 5 spices and some broth if you have, some wine, and then do it again with another batch of rice. And anyway, so this is the second batch, and I'm going to steam this for an hour or so, and then I'll get back to you soon. So it's now time for the taste test. So what we have here is a smaller piece of Ma Tsang, and I'm going to cut off the string. So, and so I just cut off the string, and so what we have here is some of the good stuff. And here goes. Good. So there's peanuts, there's the pickled mustard, and everything's just right. So the steaming thing should just be 1 hour, should be 1 hour at least, in order to really fully incorporate everything. This is really good. So there you have it. That's how you make Tsong-Tse, at least a savory one, which is very common in the Philippines. And I hope you try it too. And if you happen to have any comments or suggestions, feel free to leave it in the blog. I'll be seeing you soon. Thanks. Bye.
I just wanted to